Hey everyone, welcome back to the American Pop Culture Series channel. I hope that all of you are having an amazing day. What a difference a day makes, right? So, I'm going to do both the view recaps for yesterday and today. And oh my goodness. So, the main story for yesterday, when Marjorie Taylor Greene was the guest, is that Trump endorsed Andrew Cuomo for New York City mayor. And the fact that we had such a strong blue wave. From not only did they elect the new mayor in New York City, Zoran Mondani, but also, Virginia got right a new governor, Democratic first female governor. So congratulations. Georgia flipped blue, and they passed Prop 50, but I'll get there because that's the view they covered that for today. But oh my goodness, it's just like I think that people are starting to see the Republican platform for what it is, or perhaps the lack thereof, right? So one thing that I can admire about Marjorie Taylor Greene is that she came on The View, and she said that she caught a lot of flack for coming on The View, from her friends and her family and things like that. And I feel like she's trying to maybe rebrand her image a little bit, because she recognizes the signs of a sinking ship. I feel like people are recognizing, the tariffs, which are unnecessary, right? And we know history teaches us that the tariffs lead to oftentimes depressions. That's what happened 100 years ago with the Great Depression, approximately 100 years ago, right? But first, after the Spanish flu, we just got through, COVID-19. Um, then they had, the Roaring Twenties, but that eventually led to the Great Depression after the tariffs were unsuccessful, trying to come out of, the economic slump. And then, Donald Trump, I feel like because he was born with a proverbial, silver spoon in his mouth, that I don't even know if he's ever gone to a grocery store. He keeps saying that, grocery prices are going down when the exact opposite is true in reality. Alyssa talks about, affordability all the time on the show, but she's right. She hears it from her friends and her family as well. And so did Marjorie Taylor Greene. She talked about how the cost of everything is going up, inflation is through the roof. And so people are just tired of that, and they want it changed. But anyway, so Marjorie Taylor Greene, well, first of all, the main segment on the show was, like I said, Trump endorsed Andrew Cuomo, and he actually, lost. Um, and they were saying that it was essentially like the kiss of death, because almost everybody who Trump endorses, they're not successful in their campaigns for whatever reason. People love Donald Trump, but they're not fans of the people that Trump endorses. So I don't know. I'm not a Republican, so I don't know their thought process or their logic behind that. But I think Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and Peter Thiel, if I'm not mistaken, maybe JD Vance as well, had all stood behind, Andrew Cuomo. And now, Wednesday, we know that he was not successful in his race for mayor. So Marjorie Taylor Greene comes on The View, and she's talking about how, her phone is ringing off the hook from her constituents. She said that she's not going to take a check. She said that she feels like it's really embarrassing that Congress has been out of work essentially since September 19th, which is just mind blowing, right? Because today marks the longest shutdown in American history, government shutdown in American history, and the only other one that was even close to that, right, was during Trump's first term. So people are just, I think they're waking up to the fact that Republicans largely can't govern very well. If you look throughout American history, you'll see that majority of the times, that there have been recessions. A Republican president was in office, and then what typically happens is a Democratic president will come in. implement some changes, kind of clean up things. I think the last major surplus that we had was during the Clinton administration. But I know Obama, and he did, he took the 2008 crash from Bush, and he turned things around, and then he handed that economy to Trump. And so that's why Trump's first term was fairly well, because it was Obama's economy. And then Biden came in after Trump, kind of cleaned things up. Biden handed off the economy after he added all these new jobs. And now, our first year into the Trump presidency, things are a mess. People are not getting paid. There's breadlines. Um, ICE is disappearing people off the streets. It's just really chaotic. And I think that people were really wanting change. And that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying. She was saying that, um, not only does she think it's embarrassing that, Congress is not a session, and they're not working, but also she said that she's just tired of the quote unquote the pissing contest between men. And I do feel like, I can agree with her on that, because people are really hurting, right? A lot of the TSA workers, the federal workers, thousands of people are being laid off, it seems like almost every day. And people are really upset at the fact that they can't put food on the table, especially during November. This is the month of Thanksgiving, right? And then we have, Christmas is right around the corner next month. So it's just, I feel like Marjorie Taylor Greene has, she's been hit with a lot of, realities, and a lot of, hard hitting truth. I think a lot of people have, not only in the Republican Party, but also in the Democrat Party and the independents, as well. I know that I have been, of course, affected by this economy as well. I'm a small business owner. And so, it's tough. But I will say that I do appreciate the fact that people exercised their right to vote yesterday, that they, allow their voices to be heard. They voted in people who they feel, has their best interest at heart. It's good to see more women in leadership. I feel like that'll bring a nice balance. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, she surprised a lot of people. Some people are still skeptical because of the outlandish things that she said when she first got, elected to office. She and Goldberg were very disruptive in Congress when Joe Biden was in office. She would talk about, like, Jewish space lasers, and they were controlling the weather. Just really outlandish and crazy, things. And I feel like now she's come on the View. She seems a lot more humbled by life, right? Hardships will do that to you. I think that she said that, she her children, her two boys, were having difficulty financially and with healthcare. And Sonny said that, Trump, and the Republicans, they've had, this is his second term, and they still haven't come up with anything to replace Obamacare. They always talk about how the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, is not the best for the American people. But Sonny reminded Marjorie, that the Republicans, they don't have a plan. They have concepts of a plan, right? And so Marjorie Taylor Greene looked at her and said, that's fair. And I appreciate that. I feel like that level of maturity can only come from the school of hard knocks, to be honest. Like, once life knocks you when you're behind a few times, unfortunately, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, but you're no longer starting from scratch. You're no longer that, like, naive, arrogant, younger person. With age comes wisdom, right? That old adage. And so I feel like, Marjorie Taylor Greene might be a little bit more, open to ideas, and she seems a little bit more wise and a lot less, loud and disruptive and brash and harsh. And, now she's listening to her constituents. She's listening to people, on the View that she might not have gotten along with before, but she's willing and open to be, bipartisan and work together. And that's what we need. I feel like, hopefully, there will be more people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is willing to work with, Democrats and independents to come across the aisles. You guys know I'm an independent, registered independent. Um, But I'm here for it because we really do need to address, the pain of the American people. No more $40 billion, bailouts to Argentina. We need to take care of home first, and I feel like that was the premise of her message. So I enjoyed her on The View. You guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk with you in the next one. Take care. Bye.